Hey everybody, welcome back. Happy Skews Day. We're actually going to do a full-on crafting show tonight. No politics. We're just going to be sewing some masks for you. Now I'm moving some stuff around here at the house, and so I'm sitting in front of my wife's crafting station. So I hope you like that new background there. It will be temporary, unless you guys love it. Who knows? Maybe I'll just go full craft guy now. Anyway, I'm Trey Crowder, and that's Mark Agee. What's up, Mark?
What's up, Trey? What kind of crafts is Katie into? What's she make over
Well,
there?
she makes
Popsicle stick houses?
no, macaroni pictures, stuff like that. No, she makes custom made masks for people and sells them. She got in, started doing that at the beginning of the pandemic. It was fun for a while there. Demand dropped off for a couple weeks, and well, fucking way back up now. So
Back in
yeah, like
business,
some,
baby.
yeah,
Hell
weird
yeah.
how that's
Yeah.
going. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
such a nightmare. Just the COVID part, I mean, not her doing that.
Yeah. Do I want to type like the COVID headlines are there's this phenomenon happen where there'll be a blaring like headline about Delta, and then it's technically true, but then you read the article and you find out it's not really true. It's technically true, but it doesn't matter, right? Like there's a big one
Right.
that NBC News got roasted for. The blast out of headline said 125,000 breakthrough cases. And you're like, oh shit, that's horrifying. Then you're like, oh, 170 million people got vaccinated. And also very few of the 125,000 got very sick. And then there was a big story about a breakthrough cluster in Provincetown. That one that the CDC was treating like it was a representative, and somebody had to be like, Provincetown in the summer is not a representative of these are a bunch of hot gay dudes in very close quarters, partying very hard.
Very close, very hard.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. They got their shirts off, dancing, spin each other's mouths in the basement of a disco, and it's not a good example of what people like. You hanging out. You hang out in your backyard barbecue in the suburbs are not going to be that close to people for that long, sweating all over each other. So you're going to be way different. And
Well,
also,
I
none of
know.
them got that sick. So
Well,
yeah,
there was another. I know the New York Times, that big CDC thing, come out, and their tweet about it ended with something like the report finds that vaccinated people may spread the disease just as easily as unvaccinated people, something like that, and that's all they put in there. But that leaves out
it's
the
not
fact
true.
that or whatever, it totally ignored the fact that they're way less likely to get it in the first place.
Yeah,
Like way less likely to contract it in the first place. And I guess if you do, despite being vaccinated, if you're one of the unlucky, fraction who does still contract it, I guess that you can also still pass it to someone else or whatever. But
uh,
they made it sound like there was no difference. That the vaccine didn't
yeah.
make a difference, which is not what anybody was ever saying, and shit like that just drives me crazy.
It's it, it's fun with math, right? Because like here, like if you're in a highly vaccinated area, right, which a lot of these stories are coming out of because it fucks the math up. So if you're in like a town, say there's 100 people, 99% of them are vaccinated, and two people get COVID, the one unvaccinated person and one of the 99 vaccinated, the headline's going to say 50% of new cases in town are vaccinated.
Right. Yeah.
So and the point is, get your vaccines. It's mostly fine. Also, man, wear a mask a little bit if it's mandated and you want to. It's yeah.
Yeah. I see Justin Goldberg over here says either way, the unvaxxed have made their choice at this point. The rest of us are done with this pandemic shit. That's exactly how I feel about it too, buddy. But it's like it could still lead to the powers that be making, moving and shaking in ways that affect us, which is unfortunate. On that note, I am still, as of now, planning to continue to be on tour, but the mayor of Little Rock, Arkansas, just moved our dates in 3 weeks until next April because of this COVID shit. Even though everybody comes to my shows is vaccinated, we're all vaccinated too. And here you are. Obviously, a
Trey,
very
when you
self-centered example, but yeah, it does affect us. You can still go to Well Read, that's Well R-E-D, wellreadcomedy.com for ticket information. We'll come through as soon as
hey
possible.
hey Trey, when you got into comedy, did you think you'd be getting your bookings from the mayor?
No, I did not. Yeah, but here
Oh
we
shit!
are.
I gotta call the city comptroller see if I get a tight 10 to warm up for the mayor show.
All right, so getting into it with producer Matt's with us as always. This is Weekly Skews tonight. The big bombshell sexual harassment case against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and the responses to that so far, including the pretty bizarre response from the governor himself. Additionally, the federal eviction moratorium expired, mostly due to the Supreme Court, although you wouldn't know that based on how the Democrats have handled it so far, which is to say poorly. And if we have time, I'm going to tell y'all about how I, your intrepid host, your boy, got put in TikTok jail. The reason for which I hope will be surprising to you. But yeah, that's some fun to be had. All that and more on tonight's Skews. But first, as always, the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, any pro-vaccine Las Vegas politician who believes that their brakes are just going to somehow keep working automatically. This is a clip from a Clark County Commissioners meeting where the subject at hand was vaccine incentive programs, and this constituent had this to say. Matt, play it.
You're acquiescing to fascists. And this is going to win in my favor, you guys. 100% success rate on this side. Tyrants have 100% failure rate in this country, no matter what your little smirks have to do about it. We're the ones who put your brakes in your cars, who makes your meals, who gets your pharmacy. We're everywhere. I'm not the one who should be scared. I'm going to be driving pretty, knowing my brakes are okay.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, that lady is
Murder's
definitely
on the table, baby.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like you could take her word for it because everyone with that hair color has definitely cut a few brake lines. I say that as someone who's married to a redhead. I don't know what to like. These fantasies are hilarious to me because she's basically outlining like a right-wing Bolshevik uprising, which doesn't make any sort of sense.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if the context of this was like aimed at, the plutocrats for increasing income inequality, with no end in sight to it and that type of thing. And it's like, it would have a completely different feel to me. It's like, yeah, the pitchforks are coming type deal, but saying you're going to start getting poisoned for trying to make people get vaccines to end this pandemic is a little bit different.
It's also like this is an incentive program. So this is a program where they're trying to give people $50. It's the opposite of adding to wealth inequality. It's like, it'd be like if like that scene in Dark Knight Rises where Catwoman whispers into Batman's ear. It's like, what made you guys think you could ever live so long, live this good for so long? And then except it's Batman's like, I'm here to give you $50
and potentially save your life while doing it.
Yes. It's just like everything is filtered through this nonsense thing and comes out really extremely stupid on the other end of it. And it's so like no one's making you get the vaccine. Now, eventually, like I think the federal government, you probably can't mandate it, but you could mandate it to fly because the federal government runs the airports, right? So you could do stuff like that. And private companies are going to make all their employees get it anyway. So you're going to have a bunch like that Houston hospital is a big story. They mandated it for their like 25,000 nurses or whatever. I think 25 quit rather than get it. Private employers can make people get it. So that's the way it's going to work. And a bunch of them, Walmart announced, a bunch of them announced this week. They're all doing it at the same time to avoid blame. they huddle up like, okay, guys, we all do it this week. It's like, so we had 70% of Americans have at least one dose this week. It's getting better. The loud morons are going to continue to be loud morons, but in general, things are progressing.
Well, that's good to hear, especially coming from you, because that's not your typical slant, often. So when you're being somewhat hopeful, that makes me feel better.
Yeah. They all spend so much time online. It's easy to forget that the only life that most people are normal and sane. And some of them are skeptical of putting technically unfully approved vaccine there, which the FDA should get off their ass and validate it. And also, like, guys, we should talk this up top, but like the CDC guidelines, like CDC doesn't do cost benefit analysis. That's not their job. They offer risk advice. It's up to us to decide what to take. The CDC says also says to cook your hamburgers well done, and you always use dental dams. I've never had a well done hamburger, and I've never used a dental dam. So you can take their guidance and listen to it and understand their experts, and also still maybe go about your normal life if you feel like you don't have to listen to everything they say. But I'm still wearing a mask in places that require it, and I'm wearing it in stores and stuff. And I don't want to get Delta. My neighbor got it. He's vaccinated. He was pretty sick for like 4 days. He's better now. I don't want to get sick for 4 days, even if it's just that. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you said earlier, you're like, you spend too much time on the internet and you forget that most people are generally sane. But then, Mark, there is the internet, which leads us to our first honorable mention, which is QAnon adjacent, which means more than adjacent, which means please take it away.
All right, so Ron Watkins, who's if you've seen the Q Into the Storm documentary, you're very familiar with what character this guy is. He's the guy that owns and operates. Is that Ron? Is that Ron or his son? I can't remember which one's which. And the Watkinses run 8chan, which hosts Q, which is where Q posts his original. He makes his original posts. And Ron dropped a documentary today that was supposed to blow the doors election fraud. If you can see this video, here's a little clip of it. Matt has it.
Voting systems are, by design, meant to be used as closed systems that are not networked, meaning they are not connected to the internet. There is no internet connectivity at all. They are not designed to be connected to the outside world through either an internet connection or any other external connectivity device.
Do we have these passwords in the system? Not the devil's passwords. What's that? The state won't let us have our own password? Not the devil's password.
Does Dominion have any way to remotely access any of the information on?
So if you can't make out what the big deal about that is, neither could anyone else. All the Q people were very disappointed.
Good. Yeah, because right. Like, what is supposed to be happening here?
So it shows two guys who are supposed to be whistleblowers, and their voices are supposed to be disguised. We'll come back to that in a second. But it shows them trying and failing to use a password to get into Dominion, which is the whole point. Dominion so no one can get into it. Maybe they're the wrong password. I don't know. Doesn't matter. You notice that the video quality wasn't that good. The reason why is that's just a screen grab of the video because the reporter would not download it to his phone. The reason why is that people who did download it to their phones all got a virus. It gave all the Q people viruses. They went straight to their eye. Like there's around 100,000 events added about a virus in my calendar. The virus put a calendar events in people's phones. Bunch of things to buy various products, including buy ad blocker and virus software, which is hilarious. One of them told people to clean their rooms, which is just fucking funny.
It's also funny that they think that the government's putting 5G magnets or whatever in our bodies, like against our will, and then their own arbiters of the truth, like this guy, just give them all an actual virus on their computer instead. And I'm sure that will be completely lost on most of them. I know they're upset with him, but still, like, I don't think it's going to change their belief system.
Matt did have the right Watkins. That was wrong that he showed Jim as the dad. Just to follow up. Anyway, but anyway, they didn't mask the voice well enough, and people instantly recognized the voice of one of the alleged whistleblowers is Ron. All right. He pretended himself to be a whistleblower to make this stupid video. Now, it's important to recognize that Jim and Ron control the message board that hosts Q, and he very claimed steadfastly to not be Q, even though the documentary makes a pretty good case that they are Q. So that's it. So anyway, that was today's Q update.
All right. Our next honorable mention for Daily Dumbass is Hollywood megastar Matt Damon for attempting to cancel himself, apparently. One of the weirder celebrity stories I can remember in recent memory. He gave an interview with the UK Sunday Times in which he, for some reason, relevant to nothing out of the clear blue sky, admitted that he had only recently, just months ago, in fact, stopped using the homophobic F slur. So, not fuck, the other F word, the more hateful F word. He only just recently stopped using it. And the way this happened was he told a joke with that word in it to his 10-year-old daughter. Well, his 10, 12, and 15-year-old daughters, or at least in their presence. Also wild, but hey, Boston, what are you going to do? And one of them informed him that wasn't cool. And at first he defended it by saying, "What? I said it in the movie Stuck on You. Give me a fucking break," or whatever, which is a movie about him being a conjoined twin from 20 years ago. That was his justification at first. She then more emphatically expressed to him that it was wrong. And so he finally gave in and said that he has officially retired the F slur forever. I imagine him in his garage putting up a Celtics jersey with that word on the back of it with a tear in his eye, something like that.
Well,
I'm kidding. But
Mark Wahlberg
this
plays taps on a bugle.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg was disappointed to hear this news. Had to be him and Matt and Ben probably had a group thread going on. Where it's like, Matt, what have you done? No, I don't know. I'm sure they're all great dudes, or not. Who cares? I just think it's just a hell of a thing to just come right out and just say,
Look, if you talk extemporaneously in public, you're going to say stupid shit. Like someone messaged me last week. I quoted a T.I. lyric that popped in my head randomly, and I jokingly called him a friend of the show, and somebody sent me like a bunch of stuff about how bad T.I. is. I know all this stuff about T.I. T.I. sucks. Sorry about that. I didn't mean anything by it. But you're speaking extemporaneously in public, you're going to say a bunch of dumb shit. But the funny thing about Matt was he wasn't asked anything about this.
I know, that's right. He just offered it.
What was it like being in the movie Stillwater? It was pretty cool. By the way, I stopped saying the F word 3 months ago.
Like, all right. Okay. But he has weirdly, apparently, since clarified or attempted to. He's walking back.
But forget why, like, he just said the exact opposite. Actually, I've never used the F-bomb, which is ridiculous because he did say it and stuck on you. We heard it.
Right.
And also, in The Departed, about 1,000 times. And I don't think he's got any hate in his heart or malicious guy or anything like that. But it's just like, just because somebody's a good actor doesn't mean you need to ask them a bunch of questions about,
yeah,
all the random things.
Or not ask them about it.
Yeah.
And just maybe they'll just say it. Yeah. I get like, he ultimately is saying, I realize that this is because he's a 50-year-old dude from Boston, and that's part of what he says. Like, when I grew up, everybody said that word all the time, and I'm 100% certain that's completely true. And so it's like, as long as he's saying it's wrong, and I have stopped and will never say it, and whatever, then it's like, at least he lands on the right place. It's just such a ridiculous way for it to be presented. It's the details of the story in particular that make it so just out there.
It's also just a straight up lie to say you've never I was a kid and I was a male teenager in America in the 90s. If anybody says they didn't say that word, they're full of shit. The point is to try to be a better person as an adult as society evolves. When that stuff happened with Kevin Hart a few years ago, and he was going to host the Oscars and then had to quit because of the fallout from small tweets or whatever. A very smart, look, nobody expects you to not have been homophobic in 2005. We were all alive in 2005. It's just grow, man. I think
if he had just offered up that they used to say it all the time back in Boston back in the day or whatever, I think people would be like, okay, I don't know why you're talking about that, but we all know that already. But it was the fact that it was months ago, like 3-4 months ago, is a little late to have to have just come around on it. Although, there's plenty of people in Boston and where we're from who still ain't come around on it. So, what
he was streaming the 3rd episode of Falcon the Winter Soldier. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, right.
It was a different time, right? It was a different time.
A different time, yes. April was a different time. All right, let's get into the Cuomo stuff. Yeah, so everybody's seen it at this point. The New York Attorney General has released a report that outlines some pretty serious sexual harassment allegations against Cuomo. I think 11 counts specifically is what it was that are covered in that, I think. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, it sounds about right. The specifics of it are pretty crazy. If you want to see, like this is going to get, because everything falls in the culture war yelly stuff. You already see a bunch of right-wing people saying, see, Trump was right or whatever. Like everybody's a scumbag, which is probably true. But then it's like, then it filters through like, okay, well, if Cuomo resigns, it'll prove the Democrats are better. So that's the only reason Cuomo resigned, to make the Republicans look bad because they didn't hold Trump accountable. It's like we're already through the looking glass of what the point of this is. Anyway, the point is Cuomo is not a good governor. He's a bad person, and he's abusive to everyone, including sexually abusive. To take away from this, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here's a video from New York Attorney General Letitia Wright announcing the findings of this report.
Independent investigation has concluded that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, and in doing so violated federal and state law. Specifically, the investigation found that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed current and former New York State employees by engaging in unwelcome and non-consensual touching and making numerous offensive comments of a suggestive and sexual nature that created a hostile work environment.
Yeah, and Cuomo's defense to this, now he's going to try to conflate a bunch of different stuff, right?
Yeah.
He's going to say it's because he's touchy and loving, right?
Yes.
So like, here's how he's trying to spin it. Here's a clip of him. He obviously knew this was coming. He had a big report,
This
like a
is
printout that he handed out, and he released a 15-minute like video of him talking straight to camera about what a good dude he is and how people just misunderstand how nice and sweet he is. Like, here's a montage.
I do it with everyone. Black and white, young and old, straight and LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street.
So,
all right.
So what he's going with there is essentially I'm not Italian. All right.
Yeah.
So
Not
and
guilty of
that's
just Italian. That's just what we do.
That is a joke I was going to make anyway, but
Yeah.
here's him explicitly making that argument in a different clip.
Other complainants raised against me questions that have sought to unfairly characterize and weaponize everyday interactions that I've had with any number of New Yorkers. The New York Times published a front page picture of me touching a woman's face at a wedding and then kissing her on the cheek. That is not front page news. I've been making the same gesture in public all my life. I actually learned it from my mother and from my father. It is meant to convey warmth.
Yeah,
Right.
my dear sainted mother taught me
Yes.
to grab people and kiss them on the cheek.
Yes, but like the thing is, it's not like it's just 11 counts of doing that, right?
No.
Meaning, like that's not the whole thing that he's being accused of, is doing the thing that they all do on both cheeks. Like, it's more than that, which he's not addressing.
They have a video clip of this, but I don't think we need to show it. But I just describe what it says. This one of the women investigators describe what stuff he's accused of is, for example, he touched at a work conference. He grabbed a woman's butt. All right. Another occasion, he had a female police officer in a security detail. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, they were frozen. Sorry. A police officer in a security detail. He allegedly would trace his finger down the back of her, from the top of her neck down to the lower back. When they were in elevators together, he rubbed her tummy and he slid his hand around to her hip. And the detail that killed me was that it was like the hip where she keeps her gun. Every cop that kills someone says they reached for their gun. Right?
Yeah.
That woman could have shot the governor of New York and gotten away with it because he reached for her gun. This whole thing is absolutely goddamn ridiculous. And one of the ways he defended himself, he printed out a picture book of other politicians and powerful people also kissing and hugging people. One of them was he put out pictures of a page of pictures of Joe Biden hugging people and kissing him on the cheek and stuff. And what happened next? It was so quick, it was fucking hilarious. You could almost put the SpongeBob meme. 15 minutes later, here comes this headline: Joe Biden, Andrew Cuomo should resign. It was like he basically laid down in front of a bus and asked it to drive over him. It's just like, it's fucking ridiculous. And the important takeaway from this to me is like, Cuomo got deified last year in a really ridiculous way that I complained about at the time, because he's not a good governor and his COVID response was completely inadequate. He was just as bad lying about it as Trump and resisting shutdowns in March. He actually was slower than Trump on some shit at the beginning of the pandemic. Trump obviously got worse and worse and worse. And Cuomo started, but even like the vaccines, like grabbing control of the vaccine dispersal from local communities and slowing that down, that process. He tried do you remember he tried to use vaccine doses as leverage to get people to say he didn't sexually harass them? He was calling around trying to get people in different districts to come out his defense before they get vaccine doses. This guy is a psychopath, a terrible governor, and he's getting his comeuppance. And I hope everyone who bought a Cuomo sexual T-shirt and joked about being horny for Andrew Cuomo feels really dumb today, because like the way we turn politicians into like cults of personality is ridiculous, and it's incredibly damaging, because these people work for us and they're tools for an agenda, and the agenda either serves you or it doesn't. They're not heroes. They're not people you root for like they play in the Olympics.
Right.
They make a salary to do a job. If they don't do the job, you fire them.
Sure. And I mean, I totally agree with you on that. But you referenced this briefly earlier, but the whole dynamic, I feel like when I was reading responses and stuff on Twitter, what most people were saying or whatnot, like I don't see people on the left like defending him right now or anything, right? Despite his like deification, like people are, which I think that whole point of, and now it's like, okay, he's only going to resign to prove this point or whatever. But like Matt Gaetz still out here stomping around barefoot with Marjorie Taylor Greene and all that shit. And Donald Trump was grabbing pussies and stuff. And none of that ever mattered. None of that ever matters for any of them on their side ever. It never amounts to anything. But when it happens to a Democrat, they typically go down for it, including like Al Franken, who probably shouldn't. This is a completely different thing. But I'm saying, I don't think there's like a double standard, and I think it's worth pointing that out in situations like this. You know what I mean? Like we always say, we ain't like y'all in that way, but we're really not for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some people. There's that conspiracy theory that the powers that be are trying to take down Cuomo, so New York will have a Republican governor who can pardon Trump. I saw people making that theory, which is extremely stupid. New York's not going to have a Republican governor. Also, Andrew Cuomo governor is like a Republican. He's actually sandbagged and sabotaged Democrats at every point that he can to keep tighter control of the state government, so he doesn't have any rivals with any actual power. It's it's fine to cut him loose. You're not going to, if you're a resident of New York, you're not going to lose anything by not having Andrew Cuomo as your governor anymore. So you can let him slide.
What do you know? What happens if he does resign? Do they have like in New York? What's the line of succession, or however that works, or would they have like a special election or some shit, or what would happen?
I have no idea. I assume the lieutenant governor would take over until the next election. But like you want to know what this cult of personality stuff gets you. First of all, it gets you Brett Kavanaugh at Supreme Court, because no one thought it was people kept defending RBG whenever anyone asked her to retire. She's retired. She had pancreatic cancer and was 80 something years old. Yeah. It's fine to ask people like that to retire so they can so progress can continue and the world can get better. You're not putting her on an ice floe. She's going to go retire and live on a beach. It's same thing like right now, like in California recall elections are the stupidest thing in the world. And we're going through one right now, right? They got it because you can get like 100,000 signatures and get a recall election on the ballot. It's not very many people. And a lot of people hate Gavin Newsom on all sides of the political spectrum because he sucks, right? But he's still better than the people running against him. So if 51% of people vote that Gavin Newsom should be recalled, the highest vote getter who's not Gavin Newsom will be the next governor, even if that person only gets like 5, 10, 12 in the vote. It's the plurality.
That's
crazy.
So
the next governor of California could very easily be a Republican. And Dianne Feinstein has Alzheimer's. It's fairly public now that Chuck Schumer's asked her to resign like 3 times, and he's had to have the meeting 3 times because she forgets they had it, right? And, which is deeply sad, also ridiculous. But if Dianne Feinstein slips in a bathtub a month after a Republican takes office, Democrats will lose control of the Senate, because California will have a Republican senator who will probably be crazy as shit, because the Republican governor will be Larry Elder. So you're talking Senator Marjorie Taylor Greene should probably set up a P.O. box here and be in the Senate now. So just extremely dumb system, man. Just extremely dumb. So
yeah, indeed. Well, on that note, you want to talk about the eviction moratorium? What's going on with that?
But first, I want to say Stephen Breyer retire. So the eviction ban, eviction moratorium, which was federally instituted by the CDC, and there were lots of workarounds. People are still getting evicted because sheriffs don't follow the law necessarily. But it expired July 31st. It expired July 31st because the Supreme Court decided it should retire January 31st because a bunch of landlords who give themselves like a hippy dippy name like the National Civil Rights Alliance or some shit like that filed a lawsuit as landlords to say that the eviction moratorium overstepped the federal government's power. And Brett Kavanaugh randomly picked July 31st as the date it should expire, not for any principal reason, just like we think it should be over, but we'll give you 2 months. That clock was already always ticking. Democrats didn't do anything about it. When they realized 4 days ago it was about to expire, Joe Biden said, Congress should extend this. Congress was like, we're leaving town, buddy. You extend it. And Joe Biden's like, well, the Supreme Court said I can't. And so Cori Bush, the congresswoman who from St. Louis, who's a BLM activist, she slept on the steps of the Capitol for all weekend, trying to call attention to the homelessness crisis is about to be exacerbated. She embarrassed the shit out of them. So Joe Biden issued another eviction moratorium using a different law, I think, but it's still going to be struck down by the Supreme Court in fairly quick order. But at least maybe he can buy them some time to, replace it. But all this clusterfuck is ridiculous, and also just shows how bad the Democrats are at politics. They didn't see this coming. They didn't think there'd be a backlash. 80,000 people are about to instantly become homeless, right? Which is a disaster for them, small landlords, medium-sized landlords. It's going to be a disaster for small banks if they don't get their rent money. This leads to like general conglomerates owning everything and more people being homeless. It's just like this is a bad result all around. Hopefully, they're going to take some more steps to finesse it, but like it's always an example of how broken the social safety net is because they pumped a bunch of money into it. The money's sitting in a bunch of bank accounts. They can't figure out how to disperse it. They can't pay people's rental assistance. It's just a broken social safety net that doesn't work because it's like so bifurcated and there's so many different processes, so many different paperwork to fill out and shit. It's very frustrating. Okay, like McConnell went on video today and he said this about it. Matt, if you had that video.
Well, it looks like the money is there, and it's either still in Washington, or it's down at state and local government, or somewhere in between. It doesn't seem to me require any additional legislative action. We need to get the money out there that's already been made available so it can solve the problem.
And that's a no, on the eviction moratorium, just to button that down. 79,000 people are behind on rent in Kentucky.
Yeah, I think the governor needs to do something about that if he's got the.
I mean, the thing is, he's an asshole, but he's not wrong.
Yeah.
First, get the money. Figure out a way to get the money into the problem is the federal government doesn't just giving people money. You got to means test everything, make people fill 1,000 forms. If you just disperse the money, it would get to people and they'd be fine. But they're so worried about one wrong person getting rental assistance that it's 79,000 Kentuckians are going to lose their apartments. So,
well, what specifically is the thing that holds that up other than just bureaucracy? You know what I mean? Who is the person? Is it Joe Biden? Who is it that's that could just do something about that?
Well, I mean, we need to rethink how the social safety networks in general. It shouldn't you shouldn't be getting one kind of assistance from the county, one kind from the state, and one kind you have to always be verified by the federal government. And it's 5 different agencies. If your person gets around the bus, you got to go all over town to get one type of food stamp card or whatever. It's just none of it makes any sense. It's very hard to navigate. So the government might be we have all this money and no one's asking for it because no one knows how to ask for it or who to go ask. If you had one Department of Social Services that handle federal, state, and local, we talk about how the government's less offended than private, less what do you call it, efficient than private industry, and it's a little bit true. Not really. Anyone who's dealt with try to get a health care reimbursement claim from Blue Cross knows it's not necessarily true, yeah. But a private company would at least try to make this stuff linear and stackable, so it would be easier to navigate. So we wouldn't have one person in 5 different departments doing the same job, right? It just doesn't make any sense. I also
just don't understand how it sort of snuck up on them, apparently, the way that it seems to have. You know what I mean? It's just, you would think it's immediate. It's very apparent that it would be a big problem and a thing that people would care about. And it's
yeah. Here's the problem.
Getting somebody's birthday or something to them.
Here's the problem: is 35% of Americans are renters, and no one in the Senate knows any of them.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody pays rent. if any of them has stories about renting, it's an anecdote about their hard scrabble rise to wealth and power from being just half a lie or based on nepotism or marrying into money or whatever. But I mean, it's just like the idea of what Americans are. They think we all live in little pink houses in the suburbs, and it's just not true. I mean, I rent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just right, taken for granted that it's not that big. Like it doesn't occur to them that it would be that big of a deal somehow, despite like the numbers being readily available. Like because they just don't think in that way.
No,
About
renters
having rent to pay and not being able to pay it.
Renters aren't real people to them. And but also, like, another thing that's driving me crazy about this is about how bad the Democrats are. That's about how bad they are at policy, not recognizing that people don't like, people actually rent and live check to check. But this is the Supreme Court's fault, right? Republicans run against the courts all the time. Mm-hmm. They will slam the courts for bad decisions they do. Democrats will almost never go off the Supreme Court for a bad Supreme Court decision. The last time that I remember it happening was Obama slammed the Supreme Court during the State of the Union for Citizens United, and he got castigated for it, which is like the lesson Democrats take away from this is like we're institutionalists, so we respect the institutions. Meanwhile, Republicans just burn everything down and do whatever they can to get their agenda through. But the courts are right-wing now. The courts are extremely right-wing. They're going to frustrate the Democrats' agenda if they can't figure out a way to change the dynamic. Like there's not a single social program that Joe Biden's going to pass that the Supreme Court's not going to figure out a reason to say is unconstitutional. Everything's going to be unconstitutional. And if you think Supreme Court's following some sort of rules other than motivated reasoning, you got to read different coverage of them because they arrive at whatever conclusion they want to make for whatever the moment is to help Republicans. It's not like they're not honest actors, and they're political actors, and
so
they need to understand.
But be upfront about that, like call it like it is. If you're the Democrats, make sure that people understand what's actually happening, because of course you're going to be the ones that are blamed for this, this type of thing. Mm-hmm. The administration in charge at the time, and if you don't have an actual effective response or at least, something to say about it regarding how it did actually happen, and you improve your messaging, then like you kind of deserve it. You deserve to be the one that takes the blame if you just, don't handle it any better than that, whether it even is your fault or not. Like it's up to you to keep shit like that from happening in the first place. Like
it's Lucy and Charlie and with the football, in the Peanuts cartoons. It's like this is what the Supreme Court's going to keep doing. So you got to at least make it clear to voters what's happening. Otherwise, they're going to blame you for it, even though like their response to the problem was ineffective, as we talked about. But the actual people who created the problem were the Supreme Court, right? So just say so, fucking say so. Isn't there like why won't you allocate blame where it goes? Because you want to like pretend that you have this West Wing version of the government, that politics is a debate club and everyone is operating in good faith. You just want to hold on to that illusion until we're all dead, It's just, it's wild to me.
Yeah, me too. Shit. So, all right. Listen, Matt, you can go ahead and start looking at questions and comments if you want to. Throw them up there while I tell y'all this little anecdote. Mark already knows this. I've told him we can still talk through it with you guys here.
It's a great story. Yeah.
Interesting things happened to me recently. So some people now and then when I put a video out, one of my little rant videos I do, sometimes people ask me, you got a TikTok link? I guess they got people on TikTok that ain't on Twitter or whatever the case may be. And TikTok just keeps coming up, but I'm old and don't understand things. So for a long time, I've just been, no, I don't mess with TikTok. That's just I'm not a dancing teen, or whatever. So I'm not, that ain't what you do on TikTok. But finally, I decided, well, I'm making the videos anyway. Might as well put them on TikTok. So I started doing that recently. And if you've seen any of my videos, you know what they are. You know what I'm about. Literally same exact video, just also posted to TikTok. And I've probably put 5 or 6 of them up there. It's a relatively recent thing. And 3 of them have been removed for hate speech. And I have been banned from TikTok in increasing increments of time with every removal. I'm currently in TikTok jail for like 4 days, which expires tomorrow. I got put in TikTok jail for 2 days last Friday when I put my video out about just people not getting the vaccine and them being dumb. I put that video out and it got banned for hate speech, and I thought, well, I have a line, and in that video I say the words, Mexicans should go back to their country, right? Granted. But the context of me saying that is Republican assholes like Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott are somehow acting like the best thing for COVID would be if Mexicans went back to their country because they're passing all these bullshit immigration laws and saying it has anything to do with COVID. That's a thing that's happening. So that's the full context. But I was like, well, maybe just with my accent, I'm just not allowed to say phrases like that, no matter what the context is, as far as TikTok is concerned. So when I got out of jail, I took that sentence out of it and left the rest the same and reposted it and put a thing at the end where I was like, this video was banned and I don't know what's going on. Let's see if this one gets banned too. And it got banned immediately, and then I got put in jail again. So yeah, apparently I'm a hate speaker by TikTok's parameters. The only other explanation I can think of is that like as far as TikTok is concerned, it's like discriminatory or it's considered hate speech to talk shit about conservatives, white idiots, basically, that don't want to get vaccines. Because otherwise, I literally don't know what it could be. And if that's the case, then that's funny to me. It's my First Amendment rights, Mark. I'm being persecuted. All right, I need a liberal redneck parlor app or something. If TikTok's gonna be like this, I need to start my own app.
You're being shadow banned, buddy. You're in TikTok jail. You're basically an enemy of the Chinese Communist Party now. So that's pretty high profile. I like it.
Yeah.
The algorithms do that a lot. Like Right Wing Watch, who's a video compilation account, like organization that basically grabs different videos being made by different right wingers. They got kicked off YouTube for a while for just reposting conservative content, like look at this dumb dipshit, right?
Yeah.
The people got kicked off YouTube who were journalists who covered January 6th because just footage of the riot trying to show people what happened was considered like election misinformation or something. So the algorithms just are completely indiscriminate like that. You usually can appeal,
I did. I submitted appeals and nothing happened. Some people in the comments are saying, and some people I know in real life have said too, that maybe I'm getting brigaded with complaints, that I'm like people that for whom I do not hit are just, submitting a bunch of complaints about them just to get them taken down, and that's working. I don't know, but clearly I'm the victim here, Mark, okay? Someone else said, does anybody over 30 care about TikTok? No, I'm over 30, and I don't care about TikTok. This is a new experience for me, which I find humorous.
Trey has the perfect relationship with social media. He posts and then leaves it. He doesn't look at anything on there ever.
Jennifer Hartshorn says conservatives report your stuff on the basis of it being unfair to one racial or ethnic group, like say white people. But I don't. I mean, sometimes I say white people, but I'm a white person. I'm allowed to say it. No, but also, it's not directed at them being white. It's directed at them being stupid for whatever reason. But it was literally saying like you need to get the vaccine because you're fucking us all over was the point of the video, and like that ain't fucking hate speech. I don't care if it offends them that I'm calling them stupid for not doing it.
I think you're trying to the way your brain works. You try to find a reason for things, and sometimes there's not really.
Right.
So, but what she's saying, the right wing online kids do this. Someone could have just dropped a link to that video in one of their like a Reddit thread, like, hey, look at this dumbass. Everybody report him. And then 20,000 people report you for no reason because they're bored, and then your account gets taken down. They do that it's like how when Last Jedi comes out and it has like a fan 5% on Rotten Tomatoes because all the Reddit Nazis voted it down.
Yeah. Well, I'll just start replacing my voice with a robot's voice and putting police sirens and stuff over them and shit like that, and just see if that works. Because that's what they do on TikTok, as far as I can tell. I don't understand it. I don't know anything about it. Just thought maybe they would appreciate my wares, and they do not, and that's okay. I'll be over on Facebook having my fun. Okay,
you gotta start
partying on Facebook. All right,
you gotta start making K-pop memes. The K-pop teens will push you up, and then you'll be world famous as a K-pop superstar, Trey.
Yeah. Well, that would be fun. Matt says maybe ask a question to the audience. Comments are light.
It's August, man. It's the session, so we don't have any dumbass MGT videos. She was still posting, but interesting. So we're sitting here being other than Congress fucking up, it's a slow news day.
Yeah. So I don't have a question other than
I do want to ask, because y'all are out in the real world, not in the communist state of California. Do you guys personally know people that are vaccinated, and are they ideological holdouts, or just haven't gotten around to it yet? Because I'm really curious about that, because I'm seeing differing data on that. I started off trying to put people into buckets. A lot of people really are just slightly skeptical and just haven't gotten around to it yet. They're just waiting to see. So like their neighbor got it and like see how they feel in 2 days, or they're afraid they'll have symptoms from the side effects from the vaccine, and they can't afford to take off work. That's the thing too.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question, because anecdote. I come from a pretty small family anyway, and we're all like-minded, really. So like back home, that really small redneck town I'm from, I really only know my good friends in my family, all of whom are, they're all vaccinated and everything. So I don't have a good sense of how widespread it is, although I would imagine probably a fair amount. And then my in-laws in Wayne County, Tennessee, my sister-in-law is a doctor, a pharmacist, and I know she's really pissed at people for not getting vaccinated, but I don't know what the kind of numbers are. Whisper Mason says, I have a friend in Tennessee that isn't vaccinated because he thinks he's going to be charged for it.
There are a bunch
by
of
the
people,
police or by the bank.
No, but
right.
This is America.
Costs money because in America, fucking 3 aspirin, if you go to the doctor's office, costs you $800 or whatever. And people are used to that. So they just assume, I get it. I get that mentality, even though it's not true of vaccines.
If somebody told you healthcare was free in America, this one specific thing, would you believe them? Because we're talking about people who you go to the wrong doctor's office, you get a surprise bill for $4,000.
Honestly, I expected to have to pay for it. Like when it first came out, I just assumed we would have to pay for it, and it was going to be worth it to me. But why wouldn't you assume that in this country?
I honestly think you'd get less hesitancy, more uptake if you did charge for it, because free stuff is suspicious to America. Like so much of American capitalism is just basically being a scam, that if people can't figure out what the angle is, they assume they're being a sucker, right? It must be a microchip that they're going to get profit off of, because why would they give you something free? It's not free. The federal government paid for it, trying to get everybody back to work, right? But I have a buddy who works in his job is he works for a company that has solar panels, and they'll put solar panels on your house, your roof, for free, and you get free electricity. And what the company gets out of it is a free real estate to put their solar panels, and the extra energy that's sold back into the grid from those panels that you don't use, they get profit off that. So when he calls people to try to sell them that, people will not believe it.
Right.
It sounds like...
I don't blame them. It sounds like a scam, because it's like healthcare is in so many ways a scam in this country. There's just so many other types of scams that we've all been made aware of, or had gotten screwed over by. So it just you can't trust nobody. Nora Enels says, I'm in Indiana and I know nurses who won't get it. Why? I don't know. Obviously there are these people that are like the lady who's cutting everybody's brakes and stuff. Okay. Lynn Barons Hannah says, I'm a nurse. Many of my patients are waiting for the full approval of the vaccine.
I can't, the FDA. So I was reading an explainer of this, and it's really frustrating because the FDA exists to keep people from being scammed. It's supposed to stop snake oil, right?
Right.
It tests complaints of medicine. The claims of medicine to see if it does what it says. Over-the-counter truck stop dick pills have not been tested. Everyone knows they're a scam. They're not claimed to be real, right? They don't have an FDA approval thing on them. The FDA does not necessarily they're not deciding something's poison or not. They're trying to decide if something works or not to see if you're being overcharged for it. We're not being charged for the COVID vaccine. They're saving us from zero fraud, right? They could just approve it and it would not affect their mission. So there's them slow walking this is extremely stupid and frustrating. And yes, it would stop a lot of people. Like a lot of people's hesitancy is they have that talking point. It's not fully approved.
BJ Anderson says plenty of nurses and doctors in Tennessee will not get the vaccine. Well, my home state's been well represented so far, as per usual. Go Titans. Says will not get the vaccine and just had an outbreak at the county jail. Only 23% of the deputies were vaccinated. 38 inmates with COVID. Yeah, that's do you know how it's working with prisoners? Do they have the option even, or are we just not even giving them the vaccine?
There was a bit of outrage because they put inmates in the first tier, which of course people were like, how come they're getting in first? These liberals are like, but they're just high risk. You're trying to stop the outbreak. You're trying to give it to the most high risk people first.
Right.
You know, just that's it. And keeping inmates from getting it keeps guards from getting it, nurses from getting it, taking it back to their families. But the response to this is like, the fact that the government won't mandate it for their own employees is ridiculous. Like New York is starting to do, you need a vaccine, proof of vaccination to go in bars and restaurants, but New York will not require the police department to all get vaccinated. It's just like, just require it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to work for the federal government, as we talked about before, and I remember they required like random drug testing, which I always thought was bullshit because there's a Supreme Court case from the 90s which deemed it unconstitutional for like political candidates or like holders of political office at a certain level at least to be randomly drug tested, you know, but federal employees could be randomly drug tested, you know what I mean? But they, you know, I don't know why, like they can do whatever the hell they want when it comes to that type of stuff, you know, so why would they not? It's just like in the NFL, you know, you're heavily incentivized to get the vaccine. And so for coaches, they pretty much all have had to get it, or like one of them lost his job because he wouldn't get it because like he couldn't do his job if he didn't have the vaccine because he couldn't go into meetings or stuff like that. Like you have to make it hard on people to not have it. I think like if they just continue to refuse to not get it, you got to make it difficult to not have it.
Did you see what Mike Zimmer, the coach of the Vikings, did this week?
Yeah.
So the so he's really so the NFL's got a bunch of anti-vaxxers. You know, they're young jock kids who didn't who had their science tutor do their homework and they got hand injuries.
They're all going to live forever and that type of thing. Yeah.
And they get all their news from YouTube. So there's a bunch of vaccine hesitancy in the NFL, and the coaches are openly complaining about it because a lot of the coaches are elderly. And the head coach of the Redskins, Ron,
Rivera.
Rivera. He's a cancer survivor, and he's been openly frustrated with it. He's immunocompromised. He's openly frustrated with his players not getting it. So, but most coaches are concerned about it being a competitive disadvantage because if your players miss games because they're in the protocols, they test positive, you're going to be down players. You might have to forfeit if you're down enough players. So Mike Zimmer has been complaining. The head coach of the Vikings has been complaining about his players for a lot. And so if you're not vaccinated, there is a process you can go through. You have to get daily testing and yada, yada, yada. So he invited the media to come early every day and stake out the parking lot and take pictures and write down who is getting tested so they will know who's unvaccinated so they can ask them really annoying questions about it. That's how that's the stick he's given to his players to get the care out of the vaccine is I'm just going to embarrass you. Your children. I'm going to embarrass you.
I mean, you have people quitting their jobs over it. Luna Gary MB says, I'm in Wisconsin, and it seems I know more unvaxxed than vaxxed. Shaking my head. I am vaccinated. So, yeah, there's definitely, you know, still pockets. But like you said, if you're unvaccinated in the NFL, there's all these other rigorous steps you have to go through. And I just, like, I'm such a bag of shit. Like, just that alone, I think, would be enough. Like, you know what I mean? Just to make my day easier, I would do it for that reason. Like, I ain't doing all that extra bullshit, but these people will put themselves through so much extra bullshit, or some of them will just walk away from a job, you know, like, so they don't have to get it. It's just mind-boggling to me.
I would rather be shot full of 30 experimental drugs than fill out one form at the DMV. I would not do that.
Yeah.
I do not understand these people. Like the testing.
You tell me I got to come into work early every day to get tested every day, get that thing shoved up my nose every day, all because I won't get 2 shots. There's no way. You don't even have to tell me what's in there. Just give it to me and leave me alone so I can sleep in a little later or whatever. I ain't doing this shit.
Also, it was really, really funny because they didn't really hit their uproar until the NFL announced. They got really mad the day the NFL announced they weren't going to make everyone get vaccinated. But what they said was, you cannot get vaccinated if you want, but if you so many people are positive that you guys can't play, you're not going to get a game check. So your team will forfeit. Whoever caused the game to be canceled, and players from neither team will get paid because we don't have a game to broadcast. And they're like, "Oh, but you still got to pay us. We don't want to get vaccinated. We might get COVID, but we still want our game check." It's like, no, that's all. That's all the anger is just like they want to be paid for intentionally sabotaging their workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Let's see here. BJ Anderson again says, I'm fat. All right. And enjoy a diet of Southern food, including many examples of fried everything. But I ain't stupid. I got vaccinated because I'm kind of addicted to living. Yeah, especially if you live fat, man. Got to keep, got to do whatever you can. Keep that going.
Yeah, man.
I like that
Living
fat.
hits, buddy.
I like that fat life myself. Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
want
don't
tell?
know. You said we're at 7. What you go ahead? What?
Yeah, so just as an example of how people are removable, vaccines uptake had dropped off, and then with the rise of the Delta variant, it's gone back up again. Like we vaccinated, like we're averaging like close to a million, back up to averaging almost 1 million doses a day going in arms. So we're up to like 70%
Oh
of
shit,
adults.
man! I don't know. Maybe we'll, maybe we'll get there. Do you have any idea of what that number like needs to be before it's
Herd immunity.
Yeah, or,
I think
yeah, before. What is it?
I think it's 85, 90%, something like that. Maybe a little lower than that, but that's still like the Delta variant's going to be endemic. Like it's going to be around the rest of our lives, like a cold and flu season. So we're going to have to keep getting booster shots and shit.
Aggie Cajun says it was really hard to get people to wear seat belts before it was required. It took many years to get people to adapt, and some still don't wear them. Yeah,
Dude,
that's true.
I was a kid when they passed that in Virginia, and the hyperbolic language about how totalitarian it was to require people to wear seatbelts. It was absolutely ridiculous. My dad would say shit like that. He didn't want to wear a seatbelt. He's one of those guys.
I knew people who would never wear a seatbelt, who thought it was some bullshit. And government can't tell me what to do, that type of thing.
Yeah, he's one of those people who wanted to be thrown clear. That's the way you want to deal with the wreck, is you'll be thrown clear of the wreck.
Because I can hit the ground running, or maybe do a little tumble and then pick myself up and go. And I trust myself better than the inside of this car. I'd rather be, if you think about it, Mark, if a car is going to get smushed and exploded, you'd rather be outside of it. Really, you want to get into those bushes over there, perhaps in the uppermost reaches of that tree, something like that. Anything other than inside the car makes sense.
My dad was a old school redneck in a lot of ways. For example, he put off going to the doctor a lot, and one of the things happened because of that was he got colon cancer. It's not what killed him, but he did have colon cancer. He had a colostomy bag for the last few years of his life, and when he got the colostomy bag, the doctor gave him a note that said he did not have to wear a seatbelt, and he was happy.
I bet. Finally.
Yeah. Fuck you, government.
Yeah, eat that shit. From my colostomy bag. Yeah, but to that point though about the seatbelts, but now, and there are still people who won't wear a seatbelt or whatever, but people get over it. You know what I mean? Like people bitch and moan about things for a while or whatever, but then they move on to whatever to the next thing.
If you don't get over it, you end up being like, nobody thinks about seatbelts anymore. You get in, your car dings twice, you put it on, you drive. It's not a big deal. It makes your shirt a little wrinklier. I don't know, whatever it does. But it's like one of those things, like if you don't get over it, you end up being one of those people who's just like a 70-year-old guy at a bar ranting about low flow toilets and fluorescent light bulbs. It's just like, come on, man. Light bulbs work, toilets work, it's fine.
Yeah, but I don't know. So as a reminder, still planning on doing these shows. Still want y'all to come as long as you're vaccinated, because we're all vaccinated. So yeah, come see me on tour, wellreadcomedy.com for tickets and information. We'll keep those, keep them going. We certainly plan to. I just feel like, if you're vaccinated and you want to come and we're all vaccinated and we're cool, right? Tell me we're cool, Mark. We're cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, because it's like, as I've said before, and it's like, otherwise I don't know what we're doing here. You know what I mean? With these vaccines, like if we the responsible people have taken the measures that you need to take in order to be responsible, we should be able to fucking live our lives again. I mean, they never stopped living theirs, but we got to get to a place where we can fucking do that again too.
That's the frustrating thing, is like the mask orders are directed at us, because it's like they need to direct the mitigation efforts to people who will comply,
who will listen.
Right. So it's like we're being punished for we got to class early with our homework, and now we have to stay late and do more homework because the other kids didn't do their homework.
Right.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Everything will be fine. Yeah, well, all right. Well, that's it for this week's edition of Weekly Skews. I'm Trey, and that's Mark, and we'll be back right here next Tuesday.